Bonjour, Kinamagi Nene Ireland Indigenous, and welcome to this production of the My Math Network. Today's lesson, Chapter 10, Lesson 2, Estimate Products of Fractions. Looking at Session 1's assignment. And in Session 1, we looked at bar diagrams, where essentially the idea was you divided the whole number by the denominator. They gave you the size of each section, and then you multiplied the size of each section by your numerator. So for example, 3/4 of 40, 40 divided by 4 is 10, and you see the tens here. 10 times 3 was 30. It's 2/3 of 36. 36 divided by 3 was 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 35 divided by 5 is 7, times 3 is 21. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 32 divided by 4 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. 24 divided by 6 is 4, times 5 is 20. And then your real world problem was really up to you. You wrote a story problem. Could be similar to this. The example given by the text, Raymond earns $15 for mowing the lawn. Put 3/5 of his earnings in the bank. How much did he put in the bank? And then we found the answer was $9, because 15 divided by 5 is 3, times 3 is 9. So hopefully you remember the cheat here of take this divided by this times that. All right, let's get into today's assignment. Let's see what the assignment's going to look like. We're going to find the estimated area of a rug shown. And essentially today, we're going to be doing some rounding. We're going to be doing some of the stuff that we did yesterday or in our previous session as well. So let's go ahead and move into the lesson. The essential question here in Chapter 10 is, what strategies can be used to multiply and divide fractions? So I'm going to begin outside of the book. What strategies can I use to estimate products of fractions? Well, I could kind of use the bar diagram idea. I could also round to our benchmark fractions that we talked about in the previous chapter, where it could be times 1, times 0, or times a half. Although multiplying by 0 is probably not your best bet, as the answer is always 0. But maybe that's where it does estimate to. So let's look at an example. This is still not in your book. How can I use a bar diagram to estimate the product of 3/5 times 19? Well, I can use compatible numbers. I'm going to keep that 3/5, but what does 19 round to? And before you say, Mr. Ireland, it says 20, and you're right, it does. But what you want to check is, does 5 go in the number that you're changing 19 into? So it should be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 20 is close. So we're going to go with 20, as you can see they did here. So there's our 20 right there. Now I do exactly what I did yesterday. 20 divided by 5 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. And that's the answer we get. So you do have to use yesterday's knowledge, but the only thing you changed was this right here. Go ahead and clear the drawings before I move on here. Let's see that they left the answer key here. Now let's use a number line to estimate 5/11 times 7/8. We can use a number line to round each fraction to 0, 1/2, or 1. So first 5/11ths, you can see is pretty close to 1/2. And remember that you kind of compare the numerator to the denominator. If the numerator is about half of the denominator, we know it's about 1/2. We also know that half of 11 is 5.5, and 5 is less than that, so there's no way it can go to 1. So we're going to go to 1/2 here. 7/8, that's right over here. 7 is almost all of 8, so it's going to round to 1. And it's dramatically more than 4. And you can see the visual of the difference here. So we're going to round that to 1. Now I multiply 1/2 times 1. Remember our identity property. Anytime you multiply by 1, it stays the same. So it will be 1/2 will be our final answer. You are entitled to use a number line to help you to do this during the lesson, but it also may be a good idea just to visualize. Think, where would half of 11 be? About 5.5. Well, 5 is pretty close to that. 8, what's half of 8? 4. Yeah, 7's a lot closer to 1 than it is, or to 8 than it is to 4. So we knew to round up. And notice that we did not need to get common denominators. That is not a thing that you have to worry about with multiplying and dividing, whereas it was something that we really worried about with adding and subtracting. I'm going to go ahead and clear my screen. See the answers provided here. A model train car weighs 2 5/7 pounds. About how many pounds do 6 train cars weigh? In this case, I'm just going to round to the nearest whole number. So 2 5/7, I know it's either going to be 2 or 3. So 5/7, half of 7 is 3.5, and 5 is greater than that. So I'm going to go 3 times 6. I'm going to say it's about 18 pounds. You could have also made an argument for 2.5 and ended up with 2.5 times 6. Which will be 15 pounds. Let's see what was provided by the book here. They did go with the whole number. 3 times 6 is 18. And that's because it's easier to do the math in your head. If you heard it took a second, I had to go, okay, 2 times 6 is 12, and half of 6 is 3, put together, it's 15. Or if I just round this to the whole number, 3 times 6 is 18. If you notice the speed that in automaticity, this is a better way to do it. All right, let's get into the textbook now. You should have lesson 2 out. That begins on page 713. It is expected that you will fill in the blanks as we go. That provides an artifact that you can look back on when completing the assignment. If during the course of this video it's going too fast and you need to pause for a second, feel free to pause the video, complete your writing, and then move on to the next part by unpausing the video. So let's look at example basic. About 1/3 of the containers of yogurt in a box are strawberry. If the box contains 17 containers, about how many containers are strawberry? Well, the first thing I notice, and you kind of saw me give it away by accident in my head here as I was speaking, I need to use a compatible number for 17 that 3 will go into. And if you think of skip counting by 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. 17 is closer to 18 than it is 15, so let's use 18. So you should write that in. All right, and I'm going to clear my screen. And the clear my screen is that warning that I'm about 2 seconds away from clearing it. So if you need to pause, there you can. but you could also pause the video and then rewind if necessary too. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the drawings. You'll see the answer is already there. Now we do the work. Let me get this lined up just right. This is continuing with the same problem, but now I'm going to have 18 up here. And 18 divided by 3 is 6, so each box will be 6. This is how many yogurt containers are represented in each section of the bar diagram, 6. This is one section. So now that I've done 18 divided by 3 and got 6, I multiply by my numerator, which is basic, or 1. 6 times 1 is 6. So about 6 yogurt containers are strawberry. You see the helpful hint, 1/3 of times 18 is the same as 18 divided by 3. So go ahead and finish filling that out, and then we'll move forward here. And when we move forward, we'll be moving forward on page 714. For examples, niche in this way, then you'll get a chance to practice some on your own. So I'm going to go ahead and clear my drawings. I'm going to move forward here. Example niche. This again is on the top of 714. I'm going to estimate 2/5 times 6/7. I could use a number line to round to our benchmark fractions of 0, 1/2, and 1. So 2/5, where do you think we should round that to? Half of 5 is 2.5, so 1 is completely eliminated. How about 0 or 1/2? Well, 2 is pretty close to 2.5, so let's go with 1/2 here. You can see that on the number line right here. Pretty close there. And 6/7 is about 1. It's much closer to 1 than it is to 1/2. So now 1/2 by 1. And again, you see that they actually listed it, what I say out loud all the time, identity property. 1/2 times 1 is 1/2. So our answer or product is about 1/2. Clear that up just a little bit nicer for you. And remember, the identity property just means that anytime you multiply by 1, the answer stays the same. And that's true even with fractions. So I take a moment to finish writing that in. I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen. And let's do, you see the answer key right here. And let's do one more together under example this way. And we have estimate 7 2/7 times 3 7/8. And they're going to round each mixed number to the nearest whole number. So we know that 7 2/7 is either going to be 7 or 8. And half of 7 is 3.5. 2 is less than that, so it's going to stay 7. Now 3 7/8, it's either going to be 3 or 4. Half of 8 is 4. 7's quite a bit larger than that, so it's going to round up to 4. So make sure you're writing these in. And now we can multiply 7 times 4, which most of you already have mastered, as 28. So we know that 7 2/7 times 3 7/8 is about 28. Go ahead and write that in, and then we're going to practice next with the guided practice. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and clear the screen. Find the product of 1/2 times 25 using compatible numbers, which remember means that you have to turn 25 into something that 2 will go into evenly. Go ahead and do that problem. When you go ahead to do these problems, just make sure you pause the video, complete it, then unpause the video and check your work. You may pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. We went with 24. And they'd given you the hint, what is half of 24? 12. So 1/2 times 25 is about 12. You could have made, if you went with 26 and got 13 and 13, I could understand that one as well. It would probably depend on the context of which we are working. But both of those would be reliable answers. Our talk math, how would I estimate the product of 4/5 times 5/6? Well, I would picture the number line. 4/5 is pretty close to 1. 5/6 is pretty close to 1. So 1 times 1 is, you guessed it, 1. All right, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do number 2 in this row. So just do number 2. If you're really ambitious and want to do more than that, that's fine too. But number 2 is the one I'm asking. You can pause your video now. Welcome back. Let's see what we got here. 2/3 times 13. I needed to turn 13 to a compatible number that 3 would go into. And if you think of 3, it's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 13 is closer to 12 than 15. So I have 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4, times 2 is 8. For those of you who went further, I'm going to turn 20 into 21, because if you keep counting by 3s, you're going to go 18, 21. So it's a little closer to 21 than it is 18. 21 divided by 3 is 7, times 1 is 7. And half of 33, you could go 32, you could go 34. They went 32. 32 divided by 2 is 16, times 1 is 16. Let's go ahead on this one. I would like you to do number 7. If you want to try all 3, that's all right. You may go ahead and pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see how we did. 17 times a quarter is a lot like the previous questions, but I'm going to turn 17 to 16 as a compatible number, because 4 goes into 16 4 times. 4 times 1 is 4. Over here, we do have one that rounds to 0. 7/8 is almost 1. 1/9 is barely above 0. 1 times 0 is 0. And remember, anytime you multiply by 0, it's 0. 3/5, 2.5 is half of 5. So this is actually closer to a half. 8/9 is closer to 1. 1/2 times 1, 1/2. All right, let's do one more example here. I want you all to do number 10. If you want to practice with the other ones, you're welcome to. You may pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. And this was another of the 0 times 1 is 0. So even if your 0 is first, if you're multiplying using 0, it's 0. Same here in number 9. So 1/4 is much is less than a half. So right, 0.25. It's right in the middle between a half and 1. I might have even gone 1/2 times 1. So that's about a half. That's just me. But in reality, it's probably closer to a 1/4. All right, this one is the one that I wanted you to look at. 2/3 rounds up, so this becomes a 3. 1/6 keeps the 3 the same. 3 times 3 is 9. All right, looking back at the book again, the assignment, you're going to estimate each product. You can draw a bar diagram if necessary. If necessary means you don't have to, but you could if you need to. And on some of these, you might not need to at all. You can see all three of these problems are different styles for how we did the estimating during the lesson. Numbers 4 and 5, you're going to use these tables right here, 1/20th, 1/2, and 9/20. Number 6 is an area problem, but will require you to do your estimating of 10 1/8 times 13 3/4. And then number 7, a story problem. If you have any questions, please reach out during class time, or you may email me at mireland@psychchipschool.net. Have a minute, Gishigad, Minwa, Pamapi.